Sing dollars. So in euros, that should be, oh, I'm bad. I haven't been to Europe for a year. Probably around 330,000, something like that. And we're now, we're language agnostic. So we're having clients in 16 countries, Russia, US, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, lots of countries in this part of the world. And now we want to find our first client in Germany. And hopefully your lockdown is finished soon, that people start advertising again and go forward with some pilot campaigns with us. Where our team size is, we just onboarded 2 people last week, so we're now 16 people, and they are in 5 different locations. The bulk is in Singapore. Second biggest office is St. Petersburg, where the tech team sits, but we also have people in 1 guy in Malaysia, 2 in India, and 1 in France. Good. Longer or shorter, or is this all right? Or
I think I leave it to the experts, but I guess it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I'll go then. Hi everybody. I'm Neeraj, co-founder, CTO of Cognient. For neurologists, psychiatrists, clinical psychologists who have long waiting queues and also struggling to support the patients outside of the clinics, Cognient provides patient engagement app, which also uses digital biomarkers within their phone to predict incidences of relapses of depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and brings help early to the patients of mental health outside of the clinic. So we are based in Singapore, running clinical trials at the moment, which should finish soon, early this year, and looking at scaling in Germany through that. So we are 5-people team, most of us in Singapore, but I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I came here before the lockdown started, and since then I've been here working in Australian lockdown. Yeah, so we have few customers in Singapore and also in Australia, and we are either looking at research collaborations with universities or pharma companies or hospital organizations to take our product to European market through Germany.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we're still missing 2, but I hope they will join in a minute or 2. I would say let's just get started because we blocked your time already. Basically the goal is to present the 3 regions today, see what are the current trends, also in light of COVID, what kind of support these organizations can actually offer to international startups like yours. Also give some examples of startups they've already supported in the past, just to give you an impression of what that could look like, in addition to the support that we have through Scaler8 for you, also going forward, and basically just shed some more light on these vibrant regions. and see, I know you've talked to different experts already across Germany, but this is more really a spotlight on these 3 regions, and see if that's maybe a potential location for you in the future, as we move forward and as you secure more and more pilots and clients in Germany, hopefully. And with that, I give it to Andreas first to start actually with Invest in Bavaria.
Thank you very much, Christine. And thank you, Hendrik and Neeraj, for your introduction. I will just start my screen sharing. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I guess that's true.
All right. First of all, thank you very much for this chance to represent ourselves. I have to start, and I have to tease you a little bit in Berlin here. We get this nice quote that we always want to use from the Google engineering director and site lead in Munich, who once told us Berlin might be nice to start within Germany. However, if you do serious business, you have to set up in Munich. We always use that. I hope you don't mind that I put it here as well. But as you can see, we have a really good relation within Germany, within the States, and we all have our strengths. And I'm happy to hear from Frankfurt and Berlin as well today, what they offer to startups and where you can benefit from. But first of all, we're in the south. This is Invest in Bavaria. We are the business promotion agency of the state of Bavaria. So what we are doing is we try to support foreign high-tech companies who want to do business here. We are a first point of contact for investors who are interested in setting up here, and we call ourselves like a one-stop service for investors. Means we do customized, free, and confidential services, starting from integrating you into the network, finding your right location, helping you set up the business, and so on. First of all, where are we standing within Europe and within Germany? I have some graphs for you. Munich is Europe's leading ICT location. A study by the European Commission showed that Munich actually is leading in this field even before London and Paris. And since, well, it's 10 a.m. in the morning, we would start with a beer, of course, here in Bavaria. And with a beer, we would usually go with a bratwurst here, showing that Bavaria outperforms all German states in terms of economic growth. Actually, the south of Germany here is, together with Baden-Württemberg, we are the so-called economic powerhouse in the growth generated within Germany. Since we're talking about Bavarian stereotypes, we would of course wear our Bavarian hats as well. As you can see here representing innovative companies. Nearly 3/4 of the world's 50 most innovative companies have a base in Bavaria, and we're quite confident that this will grow. Of course, when we're talking about the most innovative companies here in the IT field, this would be in the south of Bavaria as well, generating around or clustering around Munich and the south area here. And although we are the IT hub here in Europe, we are also an economic powerhouse when it comes to manufacturing. Actually, we're almost at 30% of the economy that's generated through the manufacturing industry, which is quite surprising often because we are, well, not that really cheap, or manufacturing goes towards the eastern parts, Eastern Europe, but still manufacturing plays a big role here in Bavaria as well. Of course, quite a lot in the automobile field, talking about the big OEMs and also the supplier systems. And something we are quite proud of course, is that Munich is one of the most livable cities in the world, depending on the studies you look at. And I'm not going to show it now, but I did at the beginning. We have a lot of snow right now. I'm just looking at the Eisbach Valley. It's a place where you can actually surf within Munich, within the city, and it's covered with snow and still there are surfers. So there's quite a few things to do here. And here are some informations packed together, and you will get the slides afterwards, so I won't go through everything here. Just to show you that we have the lowest unemployment rates. Well, these days, of course, it's a bit higher. And a number that we're actually really happy about is that we have either number 1 or number 2 in Germany when it comes to patent registrations, which we use as an indicator to show the innovation power. And in this field, in 2019, we were even the leading region within Europe. So since we're talking about, since we have a startup here from the medical field, I was asked to put some information about this field together in Bavaria. And we're actually one of the leading regions, of course, here. We have a really good medical clinical infrastructure, especially in 4 cities. It's the Würzburg region, the Nuremberg region, so 2 areas in Franconia. Then we have Regensburg, and of course the Munich area. Also here, not going through the numbers, because what is more important for us in that field is that we have this separated in the cluster. It's a cluster medical technology that you can see here, divided into Forum MedTech Pharma and the Medical Valley. I want to point out here the Medical Valley. Medical Valley is an initiative that's in the Nuremberg area, so Nuremberg-Erlangen-Fürth area, where a lot of medical companies are based. And this one is also a place for the digital health hub by the DE hub initiative, which was brought up at a governmental level, where they have put different hubs into cities. For example, here in Munich, we have the mobility hub, but also the InsurTech hub. And in the Nuremberg area, there's a medical valley. In this medical technology field, we are also having two other players. Like in the middle, you can see the DE Hub, which I just mentioned, the Digital Health Hub in Nuremberg-Erlangen, but also the EIT Health. That's a European network. It's based in Munich, and we have a good access to them, so it can help also the startups, or it's open for startups to expand or to get integrated into their network, take part in their events, and just to get a good connection to the relevant players. And also something else you can see on the right side, it's called ZDB here. It's a Center of Digitalization in Bavaria. It's actually now also in Nuremberg. It used to be in Munich, but it's now in Nuremberg, located at one initiative that's called Bayern Innovativ, where innovation is gathered and pushed forward. And also because, I mean, with the relocation to Nuremberg, it got a focus also on the digital health and medical scene. Talking about the general startup ecosystem that we have here, we, when we're talking about startups in Germany, we quite often hear Berlin, and people don't really know about all the other startup cities that we're having. When it comes to startups in Bavaria, and of course, especially in Munich, we're talking about more than 50 incubators in the whole of Bavaria, 8 of them located in Munich. And we were now saying 10 accelerator programs. We actually consider this to be expanded by the end of the year to 15 accelerator programs. And we have 2 incubators that are interested in setting up in Bavaria, not specifically only in Munich, but also the whole Bavaria. As you can see from the logos that I put together, there are some really good players here, like Plug and Play, or international players, Plug and Play Tech Founders. Something I want to point out here is that we have some really good programs from other high-tech companies that are on site, of course, like IBM or Siemens. But also, yes, you can see on the far end, or on the bottom of the page, it's Zollhof. Zollhof is one of the biggest incubators now, and within Germany, it's based in Nuremberg, and it's really backed by a lot of companies in Nuremberg, not only in the medical field here, but also throughout the whole branches. And to give you an idea of the medical tech, medtech startups that we have here that we are worked with, those are the ones we're allowed to show at the moment with, for example, eGym or Inviox, quite interesting players here. Those startups got the service from us, for example, that they took part in different programs. One of them is a program by the Medical Valley. I'm going to show you now. It's a soft landing program. You get 3 months of office space in one of the incubator. You have free participation at one of the Medical Valley boot camps that they are putting together. And the whole system here is helping you with marketing, with the whole management, with networking and so on. So they will bring this whole together, also to working here with Zollhof. So this will be, for example, one program that we have here. Another one in Munich that I just want to briefly mention is the Munich Urban Collab, done by Unternehmertum. It has not opened in 2020 due to Corona. It got delayed to early 2021 here. It's a new initiative for smart city innovation and will be a startup center backed also by the city of Munich and a lot of other big clients or big companies in different fields, like also Google, but also car manufacturers will take part here and have our open companies here. And I think especially when I'm talking about car players, or, the automotive industry in general, we have to say that, I mean, Bavaria with BMW and Audi is quite frankly a car manufacturing place or state, but it's open for innovation, which we are quite proud of. For example, Audi here started working together with Arculus and ProGlove. ProGlove is one of our startups here at Unternehmertum. They have a glove that you put on, and it has smart devices, so it shows you, for example, what tool you would need in the process of putting a car together, what next tools you would have to get, or if you need screws or whatever, and tell you something more about this, which means cooperating or putting this into this whole process circle with Audi, meant for them that they have more flexibility. Cars can be customized quicker, and the productivity advantage is rising. So this is an example that those companies that we have here are open for collaboration and working together, which is, I think, one of the strengths that a startup system, whether it's in or which place it ever is, will have. And to give you another goodie, we're having also our own startup landing package. It's called Always Easy. Always Easy means Always is like the Bavarian version of alles, so all, so everything's easy. Here we try to make it, the start for startups here as smooth as possible. So compared to, or similar to the package that Medical Valley was offering, we're also having 3 months of office space. We have an access to the ecosystem that we're opening up. We offer coaching and help up with the German entity. And especially with the access to the ecosystem, I want to point that out because there are many startup related events like Bits and Pretzels, you've probably heard of that. And we are cooperating and collaborating with them to bring the startups closer to them, also with all the programs or accelerated programs done by the OEMs, for example. So whenever you need any contact in this field, we are there for you, since we are cooperating with a lot of partners. As you can see on the left, Medical Valley, as I have mentioned, but also a lot of other quite well-known players. And the application process here will be very easy. It's a 3-page questionnaire. Then we will reach out to you, evaluate with the partners together, where we can put you where it makes most sense. And it's open for all international high-tech startups with long-term seek in the German market. And I hope I managed to stay in the time in this 10 minutes, Christine. I hope that was all right. And I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for taking this chance. And if ever you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out, and we try to support you as best as we can. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Hendrik and Raj, if you have any questions, you can go ahead directly, or if you want to have a one-on-one discussion, of course, as Andreas mentioned, we're happy to coordinate as well. If there are no immediate questions and you want to have a talk later, just let us know. Good. If no questions, then we continue. Thanks a lot, Andreas. Then we continue with Frankfurt, actually, with Pedro from the Frankfurt Valley.
Right. Just 1 second. Okay, it should be visible now. Full screen mode. Okay, perfect. So great presentation, Andreas, and thanks Scaler8 for the invitation. I'm going to talk now about Frankfurt. Just to have a little bit about the overview of what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a brief introduction, explain you a bit about the startup ecosystem, show you some cases that I've been involved with, and give you some of my personal advices when it comes to choosing an ecosystem. So about myself, and to show that I'm kind of well, I'm Portuguese, so I'm not German. I'm not from Frankfurt. I'm in the middle of my 30s. My background is management and marketing, but I'm in love with entrepreneurship, innovation, And I've been working with different startups, different scale-ups in different ecosystems. So from Lisbon, I moved to Paris, I've been in Madrid, and the past 10 years, I've been working here in Frankfurt, yes. But I've been working with several international platforms like Startup Digest from Techstars, Founders Institute, Singularity University, Plug and Play, and I'm also one of the mentors of Scaler8, so that's really nice. But I'm here today with the head from Frankfurt Valley. Frankfurt Valley is an initiative that I started like 3 years ago because I felt there was a missing part in the ecosystem. Frankfurt Valley started just as an aggregator of news, events, so more of a media platform, but then switch over more like similar to Invest in Bavaria and one pitch shop for companies that are approaching the ecosystem. So we support basically the building of bridges between ecosystems. And we are backed by the SM Trade and Invest as one of our sponsors, but we have been on the road as mainly as a private company, a joint venture with Main Stage Incubator. About Frankfurt, I would like to highlight just some key facts. So most of the people know about us. When they know about Germany, they know about Berlin. And as Andreas just said, a curious fact is really that Frankfurt is very diverse. So it's one of those cities in Germany where there are more international people than Germany itself. So it's really something unique about Frankfurt. It's the diversity in terms of nationalities. Also, everyone knows about the city because of its fintech or financial hub. Indeed, we have the European Central Bank here, the Bundesbank, the BaFin, the regulator, and more than 80 international banks have their European headquarters here in Frankfurt. But it's not only about the financial, as well logistics. We have one of the biggest or the biggest airport in Germany and one of the biggest one when it comes to cargo in Europe and the fourth biggest one when it comes to passengers. And in case you don't know, the first airline company was invented here in Frankfurt in the region. So I think logistics and mobilities could be the second biggest opportunity from the region. Andreas mentioned the IT infrastructure. Also, Frankfurt has a big potential there. We have the world's biggest and fastest internet exchange point in the world. So this is a very competitive advantage for the region. Also, the Messe Frankfurt, so a trading center that receives more than 60 big events every year. Nowadays, with COVID, it's obviously stopped, but overall, normally every week we would have between 1-2 big events per week that are worthy to mention. Also important for startups when they are recruiting. I think in the region we have a really big pool of talent coming from different universities. 5 of them are in the top one in Europe and in Germany and in Europe, but all in all we have more than 30 institutes that can drive talent to the startups, and this is very good for the region. Also, Andreas mentioned the quality of life. Well, Frankfurt is as well one of the leading sustainable and green cities in the world, depending on the studies, obviously. I think the one from Mercer is a very good one, and this is very good for the expats that decide to come here to the region. When it comes to startup ecosystem, Andreas just mentioned Munich. Berlin is going to talk after me. Hamburg is also one of the biggest tech communities. Frankfurt and the region would come on the place number 4. I think what is really unique about the region is that all of these cities have great startups and great corporates that can be of benefit for your project. So when we talk about Frankfurt Rhein-Main, we include Wiesbaden, Mainz, Darmstadt, and Offenbach. So this is very important to keep it in mind. And yes, Andreas mentioned this one. I have here the map. So Frankfurt is here, and Frankfurt Darmstadt in the initiative from the digital hub, the digital ecosystem, as like the hub for fintech and cybersecurity. But I would like to point out that, yeah, it's more than just fintech and cybersecurity. I will show the canvas afterward, but yeah, we have more than 500 startups at the moment, 40 accelerators. I think interesting for those that are seeking capital. Here we have one of the biggest and most active business angel associations in Germany, and plenty of corporate investors. So we may not have so many investors or VCs as other cities like Munich and Berlin, but on the other side, we have a lot of business angel activity going on. So all in all, we have 5.5 million of people in the region, and we are the second largest economical region after Munich, it seems, when it comes to gross regional product. And I remember I was doing a presentation on those numbers last year while we were having the World Cup, and our region had a higher GRP than some of the countries, I guess 8 countries that were taking part of the competition. So that means a lot of potential are here. So the diversity that I was mentioning is not only about the international people that is working in the region, really. All of the verticals have a potential. So I spoke about the fintech. There are a lot of big names that you can look into when you look into our ecosystem, but as well the mobility I mentioned. So the airport, but as well Deutsche Bank also has a lot of activities going on here. We have Wingcopter, which you should know, it's a very interesting company producing drones. But whatever the vertical that you want to look into, prop tech, medicine, so healthcare, even the space industry, we have the Europeans, ESA, the European Space Agency, with headquarters here. Starlink just open office, and I'm going to talk about it afterwards. Consumer goods as well. So EMA, for example, is one of the fastest growing startups in Europe. And these showcase, it's like a flagship of our ecosystem, because the company in 5 years went from 5 employees to 500 employees, and yeah, is now taking over Casper, a US player, and it's a very great success story. But in every business vertical that we can have a look into, you will find great success stories and great players. So if you want more details, I can then go into the sub areas. Just some highlights about the ecosystem. So Startup Gnome, you should know it, that have an overview of different ecosystems. Just mention Frankfurt as one of the fintech ecosystems to watch. And as well, the state of European tech from Slash and Atomico, that you also have should have a look into it, included Mainz in the top 20 European apps by capital invested. And this is pretty much related, I guess, to BioNTech. I think you should know BioNTech is the company that is working now with Pfizer to produce the vaccinations for COVID. And they have the headquarters in the region. So these are some of the biggest funding deals from last year, some of the top performers, and some of the exits. And just to mention, for example, Freyman was a startup that I was working with for some years, based at WeWork Labs. They were acquired for Axel Springer, and they are now moving to Berlin. And this means that, yeah, sometimes even inside the country, there are startups that start in one city, and then when they are in a later stage, they move to another. Or the opposite, for example, Beercoin just moved from Munich to Frankfurt. So it's natural that some startups change between ecosystem. And here I would like just to highlight some overview of some cases of startups or scale-ups that join our ecosystem. Some of them, as I just mentioned, for example, Total Processing came from UK. It's a fintech company. iRadios is as well a unicorn from US, and just opened the office here in Frankfurt. Agicap, I think it's from France. Lyon, Netlight, I think they also have offices in Munich and in Berlin, and they just started now as well in Frankfurt. But yeah, you can look into different industries. Amazing Blocks is also very interesting, from Estonia, another fintech company. But all in all, there are different cases that we could look into. Those are just general ones. I would like now to highlight some that I worked personally and I was involved through Mainstage Incubator and Frankfurt Valley. So in a way, Mainstage Incubator started as a company that supports these bridges between ecosystems. We have office here in Frankfurt, but as well in India. So some or most of the startups are from India, but we also work with startups from, for example, Argentina, Australia, also in Brazil. So more and more we are working with different startups that are scaling between ecosystems. And what we do, we focus on supporting them to do the business registration in Germany, and also to do business development. So the market entry, we support them finding clients, either B2B or B2C, and as well to do fundraising. So supporting them on finding deal flows that support them to grow. Additionally, the office, we were supporting them before Corona. We were planning to have our own space, a co-working space where they could work directly with us. Unfortunately, during Corona, we decided to stop because we are unable to go to office. But hopefully in 2021, we will get back to that. We also support these startups to find co-founders or human resources in the region, because we work with multiple startups that find talent for them. And yeah, we often do a lot of networking events, pitch sessions, and we support them with marketing and visibility, not only in the region, but in all of the ecosystems that we have relations with. And last but not the least, in some cases, we support them with culture integration, because for some startups or for some products, there is a need of localizing either the product or even the way the business is done in Germany or in the other ecosystems. So just an example, for example, YuvaPay is a fintech company that we started supporting. They started in India as just focusing on a bank or a solution, a wallet for unbanked and unconnected people. We started with them and made a lot of introductions to financial players. We end up on more a funding deal where we supported them to find an investor and the scale-up program as well in US. They are now raising a Series A. We also decided to invest as well on them. So we are now one of the investors in YuvaPay, and we have a lot of hopes in this solution, although the solution is not clearly how should I say, a use case for Germany, but we decided to keep supporting them in other markets. And I think it's a very success case that we are celebrating this year. Another one is Untapped, for example, in the mobility. In this one, we really supported them to have a German entity. So it was the first company that incorporated here in Frankfurt through us. And we are now working with other mobility as well solution from India. So it would be the second mobility case to open office here. And on the other hand, we have been supporting them to do business development, so connecting to different car automotive manufacturers so that they can include Untapped solution in their production. And this is a case that we have been ongoing doing with them. We also supported them to take part on the Entrepreneurship World Cup. So they were one of the finalists. Unfortunately, not the winners, but at least they were on the top 10. And we supported them again on how to pitch, on how to talk to investors. And we are very looking forward to see how Untapped can grow in the future. As I promised, just some final advice from my side. So when you compare ecosystems, I think Frankfurt is much smaller than, for example, Berlin or Munich. But these sometimes can as well represent an opportunity. And one of the things that Startup Ganam said is that the community here is much more open and supportive, maybe because it's smaller, and this should be a plus. Another thing is that obviously when it comes to density and the fight for talent, I think here we are lucky to have a lot of abundant talent, and that there is not yet this fight between companies or startups for the same talent. And yeah, when you choose the place to be, I think right now with COVID, it is even more visible. I think you should be closer where your network is and to be tied to this network and ecosystem. And as I just showed in our landscape, I think it's so diverse and there are so many players that we are lucky to be able to support different projects. If you need some resources about the region, I would advise you, to follow or to read. In the case of Startup Radio, is a German podcast. They don't cover only Frankfurt; they really cover all Germany. So I think you should have a look on it. Startup Guide. They also have the other cities, Munich, Berlin, and so on. But if you want, take a look at what they sum up about the different ecosystems. And yes, obviously, I would ask you to also take a look into the Frankfurt Valley website or apps, because we try to highlight what's going on, different news, different founders, different success stories. So you will find definitely some content or benchmark for your projects. And as other points of contact, I think you understand I work for Frankfurt Valley and Manchester Incubator, but there are also different other more state or governmental institutions like Frankfurt Rhein-Main GmbH that indeed made the connection between us and Scaler8, Tech Quartier, which is the hub for the fintech industry. They have the co-working space, the biggest one in Frankfurt, Frankfurt Forward, and obviously our sponsors, Essen Trade and Invest and Startup Hub Essen. If you need my contacts, you have them here. I'm very open for networking and for supporting you. And I will send over the presentation. And yeah, back to you now.
Thank you very much. Any immediate questions?
Thank you.
Just curious, Pedro, you said about the investing in few startups. So do you also have an investment fund, or you work through some other party?
So yes, so indeed, we in the beginning we were just doing introductions to our network of investors, but after the first year of successful cases, indeed the company decided to do a network of business angels, and most of them are in India, by the way. And we decided as a company to start our own fund, and for 2021 to start investing in between 7 and 8 startups that we work with. So that was the decision for this year. The process is we'll start with UvaPay, obviously, because it was our first commitment. But the process and the requirements is still now shaping, but it's on our goal for this year.
Good. Thanks a lot. If no other questions, we also have some time in the end, I guess. I hand over to Faye from Berlin Partner, and we also have Tian here from Red Hill, which is a PR agency between Singapore and Germany. So we thought we really tried to get something for all of the startups. And by the way, also to our experts here, we will share the recording, of course, with the others who missed the session because of some customer meetings. So unfortunately, not everybody was here now, but we will share that, of course, and then they have a chance to actually watch the recording after. So no worries, they will still see it. Good, and then I hand it over to Faye and Jen.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think we didn't really introduce ourselves in the beginning. So I'm Faye. I'm a project manager at Berlin Partner. And I will try to explain to you now, after the great presentations on Bavaria and Frankfurt already, I will try to explain what makes Berlin special as a place to live in, but especially as a business location, of course. And as Kristen already announced, we have a guest with us today, which makes me really happy. Tien is here.
Hi, everyone.
She's working for a global PR agency that has its origin in Singapore, but is now successfully operating in Berlin as well. So she has some insights into both markets, and she will share some of her experiences with us later on how to start off in Berlin and also how to grow your business in Berlin. But I will start by sharing my screen now and show you a couple of slides on Berlin. So I hope this works for everybody. So I will start with a short flashback actually to 1989, where we started with tearing down a wall. So you see, Berlin looks back at a very moving history, and we went from being a real wasteland to becoming the creative capital. And this radical change of the fall of the wall gave a lot of room for creativity and innovation. And I brought a nice quote from Mark Zuckerberg, who said, "Berlin is only 1% complete, exactly like Facebook. So we still have more room here for innovation and ideas." And in fact, because of the fall of the wall and the history, Berlin is like two cities in one, and this manifests in a great variety of people and lifestyles. And this is actually what made Berlin become so popular. Berlin is attracting people from all over the world, and in 2019 we had 185 newcomers joining us, and nowadays you can meet 190 different nationalities in Berlin. So Berlin is very international, very liberal-minded and tolerant, which also makes it a great city to live in. So we were talking about quality of life earlier, and most people appreciate that about Berlin. But as I'm talking to startups today, I will also say a few things about the startup ecosystem in Berlin. And I want to look at it first on a global scale. And yeah, Berlin's startup ecosystem is under the top 10 worldwide and number 2 in Europe, just behind London. And Berlin has grown into the European hub for IoT and blockchain, and has particular strength in fintech, AI, and big data. And now looking at it on a German level, Berlin leads the field in Germany regarding financing amounts, which you can see in this graph, and also the number of deals. And 58%, so more than half of all investments made in Germany go to startups from Berlin. In 2019, 70% of all startups in Berlin won or were able to raise external capital. 40% of those won state funding, like non-repayable grants, and 69% were able to convince VCs or business angels of their specific business model. Also, Berlin is the state with the second highest number of startups within Germany, which you can see on this map. And we have 500 new tech startups joining us every year. Most of them have a focus on digital business models like e-commerce or software solutions. Berlin offers optimal conditions for founders, at least that's what we think. You will find 300 incubators and accelerators here and more than 150 co-working spaces. We have 30,000 graduates annually from our over 40 universities in the city. So Berlin shows the largest proportion of highly qualified people under the age of 35 in Germany. And I already mentioned that Berlin is very international, so it's no surprise that 70% of all Berliners are bilingual, and mostly everybody speaks English here, so you don't have to be afraid of a language barrier. I was also mentioning the digital startups you can meet in Berlin, but you will also meet the largest e-business corporates and companies here like Siemens, IBM, SAP, Microsoft, and eBay. And we have over 70 research institutions working in the field of ICT. So as a result, Berlin offers the largest pool of IT professionals in Germany, and every 7th job is within the digital economy. And all this results in great access to skilled staff and especially to tech talents. But now I want to say some things about Berlin Partner, what we do to support you when you want to do business in Berlin. So we are the official business promotion agency, and we are more than 200 people working on 4 main tasks. First one is supporting companies looking to be founded or to relocate or to expand to Berlin. So this could be actually you in the future. Second is supporting Berlin-based companies to grow nationally and also internationally, which could also be you in the future. And third point is we try to foster selected high-tech clusters like blockchain or IoT, as I said before, AI and VR. And we always try to be the link between the different players. So we want to connect startups, corporates, the local government, and also research institutions. And fourth task is we serve as the capital marketing agency, creating campaigns and also representing Berlin at international events. We offer a range of services that are all free of charge, of course, and that are specific to the needs of founders and entrepreneurs. So we help you finding your new office in Berlin and skilled employees, selecting the right funding programs for investment and also for innovation and research projects. We try to initiate collaborations in research, but also international cooperations. And last but not least, Berlin Partner is supported by a big network of 230 different companies from all industry sectors and also from science who join forces to promote the city. So we are, of course, happy to connect you with them and always try to find the right partners to you, for you in the city. And I will also share this presentation with you later on, so you have my contact data and can always reach out to me. We will also have some time later if you have questions, but for now, I would like to hand over to Tien now, so she can say a few things about her experiences.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good morning, from Berlin at least. Good evening to everyone in Singapore. Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be on this little event, online event, and I'm happy to give you sort of a rundown on RedHill and also on my journey, how I went from Germany to Singapore and then back to Germany, and what my experience was and also what my key learnings were during that journey. And at the end, if you have any questions, then feel free to let me know. But perhaps if we start with RedHill first, as mentioned, we are a PR and communications agency. We were founded in Singapore in 2014. And our main focus is like press work and media relations for companies, but also for governments. In Germany, in Singapore, we started our companies serving mainly VC clients. So there are some names that you guys might know of, like Django Ventures, we have Vickers Venture Partners, we have Wavemaker Partners, and we also have Vertex Ventures that we're working with, and many more. I think we have in total 16 VC companies that we are working with as a PR agency. And then slowly we started servicing their portfolio companies. And that's how we grew massively in the region, like beyond Singapore. We also, of course, went to Malaysia, Jakarta, and the whole of Southeast Asia. We tapped into Hong Kong and Taiwan. And as of me, I joined the company in 2016. I moved there straight from Germany when I was still enrolled in my master's in Dresden. And I joined when we were only 5 people, and currently we are 90 people across 14 countries. So we grew massively in the past like 3-4 years, mainly because of our model and how we started servicing those portfolio companies of the VCs. Bigger companies and bigger brands got to know us as well. So we are working with Emirates Airlines, for example, or Nokia for their 5G rollout, and Häagen-Dazs ice cream. So that's very exciting. And, as in the focus of our business and the focus of our agency and the vision of it was like, from the very start, we saw that there's no globally active like Southeast Asian agency, let alone a Singaporean agency. If you look at the agency landscape, most of the big agencies are from the US or from the UK. So you have Ruder Finn, you have Weber Shandwick, you have Ketchum, and they're all like Western. And we really wanted to, with our Singaporean branding and Singaporean founding story, which is that of Red Hill in Teluk Air, is like in Bukit Timah, is very much iconic, and it's something that we wanted to take to the world, to just represent Singapore as the little red dot that is making it big. And right now we are at a stage where we would say we are internationally active, and Germany as the hub for Europe. And out of Germany, I also expanded the business to the East Coast of the US. Was a very crucial step for us. So 2017 was when I was sent back to Germany, and I had the choice between, many big cities, and in the end, I chose Berlin because of many factors, one of which is the international sort of outlook of our company. Berlin has a very international talent pool, of course, that you were able to tap into. For me, that was the first step because I came here with no one else. Like my core team was all the way back in Singapore, and I needed to start something out. And I just reached out to several government agencies across Germany, and I found that the Berlin way of doing things was really quick. Like they moved very quickly, and they were very supportive. And there was not just one, but there were many. Like there's Berlin Partner, there's GTAI, there's the Start Alliance, which is this big network of cities, like partner cities that help you with events and networking and stuff like that. So I quickly decided to choose Berlin, not only for its partners, but also like the thriving startup culture, of course, which was one of the low-hanging fruit for us as a business to tap into. There were many sort of networks of startups as well, or startup communities that we were able to tap into in terms of sales and starting to service companies, because then you can really tap into a big network. Like you don't have to go after one company at a time, but you can actually do a partnership with the startup community, for example, and you say, hey, we can give you discounted rates for all your members. And that's already like very helpful given the number of like co-working spaces and startup communities in Berlin itself. So that's also how we grew in Berlin, or like got our first got our first clients, and then word of mouth spread, and that's how we slowly moved our way up. And from Berlin as a city in Europe, we started getting the attention or getting bigger jobs, like the Estonian government, for example. They have this e-residency program where they were looking for a PR agency being able to service not only Europe, but also Asia, because they want to roll it out globally. And that's how we got that big tender from the Estonian government. I flew into Estonia, I brought in a Spiegel reporter, and I met the Estonian president, which was really amazing. I mean, that all happened 1 or 2 years after we expanded into Berlin. And of course, that's only possible in a city where, you know, the international talent pool is so big, and the network and ecosystem is so supportive of your growth as well. I also think that it's a good city for fundraising. So as for us, we were bootstrapping. We didn't have any funds until very recently. Like, we didn't fundraise until very recently, where we got East Ventures on board. But when I moved here, I noticed that there are so many VCs that are international as well. Like, some San Francisco VC also has a branch in Berlin. And I think there are also many local VCs that, you know, due to the close proximity to Switzerland and Liechtenstein, they have many LPs investing into their funds, and then out of Berlin, which is a startup hub, they distribute those funds. So I think it's an ideal sort of breeding ground for any tech startup as well. In terms of fundraising, we have many clients that are in the tech space that have fundraised throughout 2020, which was a very difficult year for startups globally. But they managed to fundraise also with the help of government funds that were jumping in to support VCs to still continue investing into startups. So yeah, overall, I think those are the main points. I guess there were a few differences, like cultural differences, when I moved to Berlin as well, because I was born in Germany, but I entered the workforce in Singapore. So that's sort of what I knew of. And Singaporeans are very hardworking. I stayed at the office sometimes until 10, 11 p.m., like the whole week. And then when I moved back to Germany and I started hiring people at 6 p.m., they would close their laptops and go home. And I'm like, what's going on? But Berliners take their work-life balance very seriously, which in the long term is much more productive than if you burn yourself out and you know, you live this hustling sort of culture that is socially looked up to in a country like Singapore. So moving back to Berlin or moving back to Germany in general is, I think, that changed. And I'm much healthier now than I was in Singapore. Much better work-life balance, as I said, and people are just a bit more laid back. At the same time, they tell you straight in your face if they don't like something, or if they have an opinion, you will know that opinion. Whereas I think in Asian culture, it's more about like just showing a good face and not losing your face, and sometimes just hiding things or not speaking about the harsh truth sometimes. But that's definitely not the case in Berlin. Like, especially in a startup team, there are team meetings where things get very heated, but then at the end of the day, it all gets resolved, which I guess in Asian culture is kind of frowned upon at times. So that's just a few cultural differences that I've encountered here. But yeah, I think that's all my insights I can share. If you have any specific questions, or if you need any help in terms of, you know, clear setup plans, then I'm happy to help you. Just drop me a message or just let me know at the end of this presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you
can
too.
definitely agree with all the differences.